Hi everybody, this is Omar from TravelSummary.com. It's been a long time since I posted a video, and I think the reason is probably very obvious, at least if you're watching this video when I post it in 2020. Coronavirus, COVID-19, has thrown a lot of people's plans out the window, and that is especially true with travel. And so that's why I haven't been posting very many videos, or any videos really, because who wants to see travel reviews or talk about awards and different things that you can book when there's no flights flying right now, or very few at least. So that's kind of why I've taken a little bit of a backseat right now, and I'm kind of waiting for things to normalize a little bit. But first and foremost, let me just say that I hope everybody is staying safe and healthy. These truly are crazy times. We've never seen anything like it in our lifetime, and hopefully we never will again. And really, for all of us, I hope we all kind of get past this and we find either a vaccine or some other way to just kind of get through this, because it's not good for anyone to be in this kind of situation. A lot of people have lost their jobs, unfortunately, and tourism and travel industry is obviously one of the most hardest hit industries, and there's a lot of other industries that rely on travel and tourism. So, I know we're all doing our best to just kind of self-isolate and stay as much as we can indoors. Some of us are in essential jobs, and my thanks goes out to those people that are, on the front lines, and those people that are, supporting those frontline workers, in the hospitals. People that change bed linens and things like that are just as important as the doctors and the nurses and everyone else that's out there, all the food service workers and grocery store workers, everybody that has to work right now. Truly appreciate everything that you guys are doing. So the purpose of my video today is actually to discuss refunds, and specifically refunds that have to do with United Airlines. United Airlines has famously been one of the worst airlines, I think, in terms of policy towards coronavirus and COVID-19 and providing people refunds for travel that has been canceled by the airline itself. And it's really unfortunate that United is this way, and I personally have been keeping a list of airlines that I just do not want to fly with in the future. If I have a choice, if I can make the schedule work, or if I can pay the little extra premium to fly with somebody else, I will definitely do that, because United is at the top of that list of companies that I just do not want to deal with after this COVID-19 virus. The reason is because they have tried to enact a lot of policies with regards to how they can basically prevent people from getting refunds. To me, this is really bad business. It's bad practice, and I hope people like myself will remember, and when I say people like myself, I mean people that travel, will remember this from United and make their decision based off of these choices, because United is really trying to screw people over here by giving vouchers and by changing the rules so that if they make, for example, their change rule, if there was a change before of 2 hours or more of a flight, then you can get refunded for that flight. United tried to change that to 24 hours, or 26 hours actually. And that's crazy, right? Who has travel plans and can actually shift those travel plans by 26 hours or 24 hours? That's insane. People have connecting flights, they have hotels, they have tours booked. That's not okay. 2 hours you can maybe deal with, you can get rebooked on something, your trip will still be intact, but a whole day is not okay. And on top of that, they're trying to provide vouchers instead of refunds for people that have booked cash bookings, of which I was one. Now, my itinerary was pretty complicated. I had some trips planned in April this month, and for me and my wife, I had two tickets, right? We were going to Europe, and so we were flying on one ticket, and we were coming back on another ticket. And because of the way that I book, and I'm sure many of you as well, we book using the points that we have, using the methods that we can to get the cheapest deal at that time. So what I had booked actually was kind of a cash fare. It was a round-trip business class fare that was on sale. It was starting in Europe though. So it was from Paris back to the US, and it was round-trip business class on United Metal, and it was booked basically with an OTA. So I'm going to discuss that in a second. But I had some points in Chase that I wanted to use, and I had some points in Amex that I wanted to use. So because the flight was so cheap, $1,500 for a round-trip business class, which is a pretty good deal, I decided to use 100,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points and book directly through their travel portal. It was only 100,000 points plus about $38, something like that, because that was the total price of the flight. Each point on Chase Ultimate Rewards is worth 1.5 cents. Similarly with American Express, I booked through their Amex travel portal because I have the Amex Business Platinum card. And one of the benefits of that card is you get a 35% rebate after booking at 1 cent per point. So initially I needed 150,000 plus or minus points in order to book the flight, but then I got rebated about 50,000 of those points. And so again, the round trip cost ended up being just about 100,000 American Express points. So I booked one ticket with Chase and I booked one ticket with American Express, exact same flights. One ticket was for myself, one ticket was for my wife. So all of this coronavirus stuff happens and my flights are canceled. And I know that they're canceled or they're going to be canceled because, it's in late March when I'm thinking of this. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I should just go ahead and at least initiate it with Chase. I want my points back, and that I just want to get it started because I know this is happening. So I contact Chase, and by this time, everyone's call centers, all airlines, hotels, everybody's call centers are slammed. So Chase comes out with this online form, and I'll put a picture of it on the screen. This online form is very simple. You just have to fill out a few fields, and you can cancel your flight. But they don't go into any detail on what exactly they're going to do. And this was my big mistake. I should have waited a little bit longer. I should have maybe read a little bit more on the internet of what other people's experience had been. So I submitted this form, and I rather promptly, actually, within about a day or so, got a response from Chase that my flight had been canceled at my request and that I have been provided a voucher. And this voucher was extremely restrictive. I'll put some of the restrictions on the screen again. I'll put the email actually on the screen. But the restrictions were I had to book by a certain date. It was like the end of the summer. I could only use the voucher for myself. I couldn't book it for anybody else. I had to use the entire value, which is $1,500, all at once. Otherwise, the remaining value is lost. I mean, all of this stuff is extremely restrictive and just not a good way to do it. I was really upset by that. And so I emailed back saying that, hey, I want a refund. I don't want a voucher. I want my money back. That's $1,500 worth or 100,000 points. I want those points or the equivalent money back. Took days for them to respond, but when they did eventually respond, they responded basically with the same template email that it looks like they've been using for everyone. And what they did was they just used the same language, but they changed the date, and I had until the end of the year now to book. Again, not acceptable. I sent an email back, haven't got a response, and I never did. So I thought, okay, let me just leave that on the side. I'm going to figure out everything else. While this is happening, the Department of Transportation issues a warning to airlines like United, saying that it is long-standing policy that if the airline cancels the flight, which in my case, United did cancel the flight. If the airline cancels the flight, then they have to provide a refund at the customer's option. If they want to be rebooked, fine, but if the customer wants a refund, the airline has to provide that. That is long-standing Department of Transportation policy and essentially law in the United States. So they issue a warning to all the airlines that you have to do this. So United then, me realizing that United now is probably starting to soften on this, I thought, okay, let me start working on American Express. Right now it's just several days before the actual flight was supposed to happen, the initial flight. So I call American Express. American Express, I get through thankfully very quickly, and they tell me that same thing, they're only providing a voucher because that's what the airline is providing. Now, these two companies, Chase Travel and American Express Travel, these are what you call online travel agencies. Online travel agencies are kind of a middleman between you and the airline, right? So they are unfortunately the ones that dictate that ticket. Now, this is unfortunate because it's kind of an added layer where if the airline has one policy and the online travel agency, their OTA, has another policy, you're kind of at the mercy of the OTA. And usually the OTA is going to have a more restrictive policy because they're trying to protect themselves and the money that they made off of you. And I understand that, but in situations like this, with the coronavirus and unprecedented times, you would hope that the online travel agency would be a little bit more flexible. And they were, actually. So both Chase and American Express, their travel portals, they were willing to provide whatever the airline themselves were providing. And unfortunately, United's policy was still to provide a voucher and not a refund. So when I called American Express, they said we're providing vouchers because that's what United is providing. So in this case, the online travel agency was not the problem. It was United that was the problem. So I, as I do, I was a little bit persistent with American Express, and I said, hey, I want a refund. And they said, I have no power. You have to contact United if you want a refund. So I thought, okay, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let me call United and let me see what I can find out from them. So I called United and I basically went through the whole thing. I talked about, first I did my wife's because that was the one that I booked through Chase. And so I said, look, this is the situation. I want to cancel her flight, the flight has been canceled by United and I want a refund for it. She has, I'm sure, a boilerplate template that she was reading, and she said, we're providing refunds, yada, yada, yada. As soon as I heard that, I said, I'm sorry, I don't want a voucher. Sorry, we're providing vouchers, not refunds. So I said, I'm sorry, I don't want a voucher. I want a refund. And I was trying to think to myself as I was saying this to her, how can I get her to be a little bit more sympathetic towards me? And so what I said was, I have bills to pay. I don't want to have to deal with a voucher. I don't want to have to deal with travel that I may not be able to take in 8 months or 12 months. I want money because I have bills to pay. Whether or not that's true is a different story, but I was trying to just drive home the point to her. And I also reminded her that, hey, I saw an article posted in the news that the Department of Transportation said that I am due a refund. So can you help me out here? And thankfully, she put me on hold. She talked to a supervisor. After half an hour, she came back and she said, I'll provide you a refund. Fantastic. Now, I didn't want to get bogged down into the details of how that would actually end up working with me booking with an OTA, with Chase or with Amex, because I thought, okay, you know what? I kind of won a battle here. So I'm just going to let it be and let's see how it works out. Maybe it'll all just be fine. If I have to fight for something different later on or call Chase again, I'll do that. But, for now, I got the airline to agree, so I'm just going to let it be. So that was my wife's. That was with Chase. And as soon as that one was done, she said, look, she asked me for a bunch of information, address and other things. And she mentioned voucher. There's a little bit of back and forth, but eventually we figured out that it is a refund, okay? Or at least that's what she said. So then I told her, I said, look, I have this other itinerary, exactly the same thing, booked with a different travel agency. So I gave her that record locator for the American Express one under my own ticket. And within 30 seconds, it was done because she already knew what the process was. She already got the approval from the supervisor. So that was done. She told me I was getting refunds. Great. So now it was just a matter of me waiting to see, did they actually come through? Would they actually come through? To my surprise, American Express came through within a few days. Within a few days, and the way that it came through, by the way, is as a refund. So I did not get the points back. I got a refund of the cash value. So the way it showed up was a credit on my credit card. So because I used the American Express Business Platinum card's points and that rebate, that's the card that it got rebated to or returned to. So I had a negative balance basically of $1,500 or about that amount because I had no charges before that. So that was great. I was happy just to get my money back or equivalent. It actually ended up being somewhat better depending on who you ask because I was able to cash out, quote unquote, my American Express points at about 1.5 cents each. Chase, I was a little bit worried about. It took several weeks, but eventually I got an email from Chase just a couple of days ago that I have been refunded my points and the cash portion, the $38 that I booked with cash. To me, that's what I wanted. I wanted the actual points back because to me, I actually value the points a little bit more than 1.5 cents. So I'm glad I got the points back, but the moral of the story is that for both Amex and Chase, and this would work for Expedia and Orbitz, and by the way, Chase uses Expedia, I believe, to run their online travel booking form. So this strategy should work with all these other online travel agencies as well. If you called the online travel agency and you were, like me, told that, sorry, we're only providing a voucher because that's what the airline is providing, call the airline and use those words that I use. Say that, hey, I don't want a voucher. I have bills to pay. And this is going to make a lot more sense now than it did even when I talked about it 1 month ago, because since then, I think about 26 million people, Americans, have lost their jobs, unfortunately. So this will probably ring a little bit more true. Plus, that warning from the Department of Transportation still stands. So say, I want my money back because I have bills to pay. I think that'll tug on their heartstrings a little bit, and hopefully it'll get you a refund just like it got me. I hope everybody is staying safe out there and remains safe. I hope we can all get back to traveling, because I want to go ahead and start posting more videos on credit cards, and there's going to be probably some different strategies now with the way that the world has changed. And I want to get back to posting travel and pictures and videos and reviews, and I want to travel myself, and I know all of you do as well. So let's all pray that we can get back to that again very soon, and hopefully I'll see you again all very soon. Until then, I'll usually say happy travels, but stay safe and stay healthy.